Star Wars The Force Awakens is the brand new military defense program being proposed by Donald Trump that is in no way similar to anything anyone has ever come up with before. Star Wars Force Awakens, it's going to be huge. It's a brand new thing I came up with. Nobody's ever come up with anything like this before. So people are like, hey, it's like what Ronald Reagan did in 1983. I'm like, no. I talked to Ronald Reagan. He called me, and I know he's dead. He called me up. He's like, hey, Donald. And I'm like, yeah, Ronnie. That's what I call him Ronnie. I'm like, hey, Ronnie, what's up? And he's like, I think people might try to prepare this thing I'm going to do 30 years ago, but I'm actually getting the idea to do it right now, and I'm going to go back in time and do it. And I'm like, that's fantastic. Do it. It'll be fantastic. It'll be huge. Almost as huge as what I did. Matter of fact, I got a call from George Lucas. He's like, hey, I want to name this 1977 movie after this program you're coming up with in 2016. And I'm like, that'll be fantastic. Fantastic. Just do it. It'll be great. Go back in time, name that movie that. You may be wondering how these people go back in time. That's because in the 1980s, with the help of my high school friend Marty, I built a time machine on a DeLorean. Then he went back in time, tried to beat his mom. It was crazy. If we made a movie about it, it would have been huge. Would have been huge, America. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, is the latest entry in the Star Wars saga. It actually is called Episode 7, which they kind of took off all the promotional materials as soon as The Force Awakens was announced, but in the title crawl it actually does say Star Wars Episode 7, which I think is great, because that would have pissed me the fuck off if they took out the Roman numerals for no reason. This time it is directed by J.J. Abrams and stars Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver, Donald Gleason, and Harrison Ford. It takes place about 30 years after the original trilogy. Without giving too much away, the plot centers around a droid that's lost on a desert planet who, with the help of our heroes, has to get back to the Resistance. If that sounds familiar, it's because it is. That's my actually major complaint, I'll get it out of the way right away, is that is essentially a rehash of A New Hope. There's a little bit of the original trilogy thrown in there, like a little bit of Empire in there, maybe a little bit of Return of the Jedi even, but it's pretty much beat for beat the same plot as Episode 4, A New Hope. That's my biggest negative about this. Some people are saying that people are making such a big deal out of it. I don't think they are. I think it's okay to be upset that, a little bit anyway, that it's essentially a retread of something that's already happened. It's not a brand new story. With that being said, I don't think it really detracts that much from the movie. The movie is still very fun and has that Star Wars magic in it. The cast and characters are great in this movie, especially Daisy Ridley. She plays Rey. She has the most to do of any of the characters. She has a lot of emotion to do, a lot of fight scenes, and a nice arc in the movie. John Boyega also does well with Finn. He plays Finn in the movie. I'm not going to really go too much into his character, but what's nice about him is he's not really the stereotypical hero. He's actually a bit of a coward for a lot of it, which is a nice change of pace, actually. It's something kind of new to the saga. Adam Driver does a great job as Kylo Ren, this kind of tortured bad guy that you're not sure what he's going to do next. You really kind of feel like he's being pulled in two different directions. And he has these hissy fits in the movie which kind of add this depth to his character that he's not really fully matured. And it's kind of what you wish Anakin was in the prequel trilogy, at least Episode 2. More, kind of a tortured soul trying to figure shit out. Oscar Isaac plays Poe Dameron, who's fucking awesome in the movie. He's not in it nearly enough. He's underused. But he's quick-witted, funny, and he's essentially the Han Solo of the film. Speaking of that, Han Solo is also the Han Solo of the film. Harrison Ford comes back to reprise his role along with Chewbacca. He does very well. He slips back into the role pretty much perfectly. He's not exactly the same as when we last left him. He seems a bit more weathered, which makes sense because it was like 30-some years ago, the last time he played the character, and the character has to have grown in this time. So it's the Han Solo we knew and loved, but with 30 years of wear and tear. Another character I think is a standout that some people really don't seem to like is Maz Kanata. She's a fully CGI character, one of the few in the movie. But she looks pretty good. She doesn't look perfect. I can't say she looks perfect. She's not like the apes in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. She doesn't look quite that good, but she still looks pretty good. And her character is kind of an old weirdo and funny. I like her. I thought she was very interesting. She's not a straight Yoda ripoff. Another thing the movie does very well is the action. The camera's placed in interesting spots during the fighting. It switches around a good amount without being confusing. And it also, it does a lot. Instead of just saying, hey, Poe Dameron's a great pilot, it shows you why Poe Dameron's a great pilot. So that's really cool. There's a really cool chase at the beginning with the Millennium Falcon, and how that works out is pretty fucking awesome. There's also a sweet... the lightsaber battle at the end is a nice mix of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. Say what you will about the prequels, but their lightsaber duels were pretty awesome. This is a nice mix of the original trilogy, which was more kind of like just fucking hacking at each other, and the prequel trilogy, which makes sense because most of the people using lightsabers aren't trained at all, and the one person that is trained isn't trained that well. So again, The Force Awakens has some great new characters, well-shot action, and is just an all-around fun movie. The biggest attraction, and the only real one that bothered me, is the fact that it's very much a rehash of Episode 4. With that being said, it's still an incredibly fun and entertaining movie. This movie is rated A. So what's your favorite Star Wars character? Mine is Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was a cool old wise man in the original trilogy, and then he was just kind of this awesome kick-ass dude in the prequels, especially in Episode 3, where you really get to see him kind of be at the top of his game and, you know, start to get some of that kind of sage quality in him, but still being just a kick-ass character. So again, what's your favorite Star Wars character? Make your mark below in the comment section. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. You know, believe it or not, there's some people out there that they don't like me. They criticize me constantly. And they're like, that guy is a motherfucker. And you know what? That's true. I do fuck mothers. Matter of fact, I fuck them all the time. I get calls from these people and they're like, hey, you fucked my mother. I just want to thank you for that. Hey, thank you, Donald Trump, for fucking my mother. That's what they say to me. True story. True story. There is a great mashup video of Donald Trump and Darth Vader from the original trilogy. I'm going to leave a link below in the description. Check it out. It is fucking hilarious. It's just funny.